Today, I will be discussing a matter of the heart for myself, which is why I named my YouTube channel Renaissance Resurrection. In order for you to better understand the meaning behind why I chose this name, I must take you on a brief journey on my view of where we've come from and where we are in our consciousness as a society today. I'll start with breaking down the societal construct which determines how most of us live our lives in this present day. The construct is called the Industrial Age Life Map. It's a construct which I detest, and it goes something like this. From the time you are a young boy or girl, you go to school and you work hard. You do everything you're told, no matter how meaningless it may seem to you, so you can get good grades to get into a decent college. After school, you go to college. You pick one thing to major in. You work hard to do everything you're told, no matter how meaningless some of it may seem, so you can get a dependable degree and acquire the skills that employers want. After graduating, you get a safe, secure job. You work hard to do everything you're told, no matter how meaningless it may seem to you, so you can put food in your stomach, a roof over your head, and buy things to make yourself feel like you're worth something. After this, you find a partner, you have children, and you raise those children the exact same way you were raised. To be a good, subordinate soldier for the system, doing one thing with your whole life, following the exact same path as everybody else. While raising children, you continue to work. After working the majority of your life and doing what you're told by a boss, corporation, or other authority figure, you retire and you live out your days on government handouts that are skimmed off the backs of the other people working in the system, just like you once were. After enjoying a few years of retirement, if you're lucky enough to not have run out of money in today's world and have to go back to work with the fact that people are living longer, then you may die, but not before you've given your soul to this repetitive machine and you've brought forth a couple children raised just like you to replace the cogs in the machine that go missing when you're no longer on this earth. In my opinion, we can sum the ideal individual of the industrial age up with this list of ideals. 1. An individual who is hardworking. 2. An individual who is concentrated in one field. 3. An individual who remains loyal to his or her company, industry, or field. And 4. An individual who seeks safety, security, and is obedient. Some people may disagree with this view of the industrial age life map and ideals, and that is okay. I'm not here to be liked by everybody or agreed with by everybody. This is simply how I view the construct that is the system we are currently living in, and I'm here to share new ideas and perspectives to shake things up. Now, allow me to take a step back and elaborate on the societal ideals from a period long ago, a much different period in history. Let us contrast the industrial age life map and societal ideals with the societal ideals of the Renaissance era, and more than anything, the ideals of the Renaissance man or woman. In the period of the Renaissance, the ideal person was nothing like the ideal person of the industrial age. The ideal individual in the Renaissance was someone who was not focused purely on one thing, but instead diversified the things they pursued and found unique ways to connect them. The perfect example of this type of individual is Leonardo Da Vinci. He's history's most famous example and the epitome of a Renaissance man. Leonardo da Vinci was many things. First, he was an artist, completing some of the most prominent art pieces in history, such as the Mona Lisa, the Last Supper, and the Vitruvian Man. Next, he was an inventor and engineer, creating designs for the parachute before we even had planes. He created complex designs for flight craft based on the anatomy of birds. He created workable designs for tanks long before they were implemented in warfare. He created designs for diving suits, which allowed people to go deep underwater for extended periods of time. He had a boundless imagination as an inventor, and he laid the groundwork for many of today's most fascinating inventions. He was a wonder when it came to human anatomy. He performed many autopsies and contributed leaps and bounds to the understanding of human anatomy through his work. He also contributed in the fields of astronomy, botany, cartography, and paleontology. The most fascinating part is that he had absolutely no formal education from his youth on. He simply had a wondrously creative mind which allowed him to pursue each of his interests and find unique ways to connect them, rather than focusing on only one thing like we're encouraged to do in today's times. Perhaps the most fascinating thing to me about Leonardo da Vinci is that he was able to achieve mastery in all these different fields without access to the amazing tools that we have available to us today in the form of computers, phones, and the internet. I've always taken inspiration from the example of Leonardo Da Vinci and wondered if he was able to accomplish so much more than most people in today's times with so many less resources, then what is the true capacity for human achievement and diversification of talent in today's time? I've drawn immense inspiration from Da Vinci in my pursuit of mastery in each of the different fields that I pursue in my life. The fields that I am pursuing mastery in my life are music, between my saxophone, guitar, and piano; technology, namely in my interests of cybersecurity and financial technology; mixed martial arts and athletic training to cultivate my body and mind to the state of peak performance which they are capable of; business and entrepreneurship, and learning to develop functional business systems in the businesses I operate and will be operating in the future; finance and investing with my studying of stocks and insurance as vehicles to grow my wealth; and more recently with the creation of this channel, videography and content production as a medium to share my ideas. I pursue all of these fields with the concept of becoming a modern-day Renaissance man of our times in mind. And when I say our times, I'm referring to the information age, which we've recently entered. We often hear that term, the information age, but not everyone fully understands the characteristics of the time we live in. The period that we live in is defined by a few key characteristics, at least to me, which set us apart from any other time in history. The characteristics are these. 1, we have devices which we can learn anything from, which have never before existed. 2, the barriers to information are lower than they have ever been before with the advent of the internet. 3, it is easier today to pursue each and every one of our interests than ever before in history. 4th, and lastly, it is easier to become successful today than ever before due to the development of digital payment systems and the ability to monetize digital products such as music, ebooks, and many other things, whereas in the past, you had to manufacture and distribute tangible products or offer services in person to create wealth. Overall, the information age that we live in represents the highest that human potential has ever been. The times that we live in are absolutely amazing to me, and we're very privileged to be a part of it. Despite all this, I see one large problem in our society as a whole. We are still by and large programmed to live on the industrial age life map, despite the fact that it makes no sense with the access to information that we have. We no longer have to go to school and get a degree to specialize. This world is starving for original ideas, and in reality, the wildest successes in the future will no longer belong to people who pick one thing to be the best at. The wildest and most inspiring successes will come from people who find unique ways to merge their passions into entirely new ideas and fields in this insanely connected world that we live in. Now, coming full circle, you may be wondering, what does this all have to do with naming the channel Renaissance Resurrection? Well, the definition of resurrect is to revive the practice, use, or memory of something, to bring vigor to it. My belief and the vision I have with this channel is to resurrect the concept of the Renaissance man in today's time, to bring it back from the dead. I wish to do my part in putting to rest this limiting industrial age life map ideology and to expand people's consciousness to realize that we are not limited like generations past. We can pursue each of our interests and find ways to connect them. The way I aim to do this and resurrect this mindset is to produce content on each of the different facets that comprise my life through my media platforms. To not just spin a wondrous vision, but instead to show it to be possible by cultivating mastery in each of the fields which I have chosen myself in life. This vision and the philosophy that I've developed for myself on life is why this channel is called Renaissance Resurrection. I wish to encourage people to lay down the limiting beliefs of generations past that we must involve ourselves only in one thing, and instead provide an example of what tapping into human potential today could look like with the resources and information that we now have. If this message and these ideas resonate with you, I ask that you subscribe to this channel, come along for the journey, and that you too embrace the philosophy of the Renaissance ideals, tap into your own potential, and see just how much you might be capable of in today's time.